Alek Manoah at his best, as you guys saw in his first couple of years, tremendously confident guy. I mean, a huge presence on the mound in personality alone. Never mind the fact that he's also a big presence physically.
Us right now, real treat for us. And Dan, as we said to Buck Martinez when he was on in the winter, dominant broadcast team makes every game feel big. So great to have you on. And how was that series with Shohei returning? Did you feel the boos as loud as you've ever heard there for a regular season game?
I wouldn't say as loud as I've ever heard. There's been worse, I think. Canadians are really nice until they decide that they don't want to be nice, and then they can really get after people pretty good. But it was fairly loud, and thanks, God, for that. I appreciate it, and good to see you guys, AJ and Kratzy. But Buck and I both, we talked about it a little bit. We didn't dwell on it too much. I mean, every Blue Jay fan hoped that Shohei Ohtani was going to be a Blue Jay, and a lot of them got caught up that day. Is he on the plane or not? Is he seriously considering the Blue Jays or not? And it didn't happen. So, there's a certain part of the fan base, I guess, that felt like maybe they were, leveraged, by his Ohtani's representatives or whatever, and so maybe he can get the best deal possible out of the Dodgers. I mean, Dave Roberts strongly refuted that this weekend when he was talking to us about it. Obviously, I have no idea what really happened. So it was loud booing, but it wasn't deafening or anything. And then, pretty quickly the big story became like, whoa, these Dodgers are really good, which we all knew to begin with. And they were pounding the Blue Jays on Friday. So it kind of we kind of turned our focus to what was going on between the white lines very quickly.
Hold on, I need a translator because I don't understand you at all.
You don't speak Canadian?
Kratz does.
Kratz definitely does. You haven't said offense yet.
Kratz was a Blue Jay and was a Blue Jay farm. Like 4 of the chapters in Kratz's book are when he's in the Blue Jay system. He's fluent.
Wait, you read the book?
Kratzy and I are perfectly bilingual, and we're proud of it.
All right. So you haven't said offense yet or organization, so we're good so far.
You know what? I'll tell you something. Because as you know, AJ, I kind of have 2 work lives, one on this side of the border and one on that side of the border. And I'll say organization in Canada, and I'll say organization on ESPN.
Wow.
I'll say,
Wow.
I'll say tomorrow in Canada, and I'll humor you guys, and I'll say tomorrow when I'm on ESPN. So, but I am Canadian, and so I prefer to say things the Canadian way, but I'll play along with you guys.
Okay, nice. All right, so honestly though, the Dodgers came in and obviously took 2 out of 3 and had chances yesterday to sweep you guys. What's going on with the Blue Jays? I mean, but the catch by George Springer obviously was incredible. I mean, they were like the flying Walindas out there in the outfield between Varsho and they were catching everything, right? It was crazy. But what's going on with the Blue Jays? This has been a team now for years that we've said, hey, offense, and they haven't had any. Where'd it go?
I see what you did there. They're a different team than they were back in 2021. I mean, in 2021, I think they had the best offensive numbers in baseball. And everybody was, that was Vladimir Guerrero Jr.'s huge year. Marcus Semien I think he hit 45 home runs that year, finished 3rd in MVP balloting. I mean, up and down the lineup, they still had Teoscar Hernandez. They still had Lourdes Gurriel Jr. In 2021, they were a dominant offensive team. And what kept them out of the postseason was the fact that the first half of the year, they had a bad bullpen. They tried to address it in the middle of the year, but they never could quite make up the ground and make the playoffs. I think had they made the playoffs in 2021 with the team that they had in the last couple of months of that season, I think they could have beaten anybody. This year, and it's kind of gone down year by year, I think the perception for a lot of people who maybe follow them casually is, they're still an offensive juggernaut. That's not the case. Last year, they were an average offensive team. Like if you look, they're like 14th in this, 17th in that, 15th in this. That's kind of what they were. The best part about the team last year, the pitching and the defense were both great. The starting rotation was great. The bullpen was very good, and the defense was probably the best in baseball. This year, they're just not hitting at all. When I looked yesterday, they were 27th out of 30 teams in runs per game this year. We're looking at the Springer catch. He's done great things in the outfield. Varsho's fantastic. Kiermaier's on the IL, obviously, right now, but he's fantastic. They've got good defense on the infield as well. They're a great defensive team. their pitching numbers don't look great, but they will be a very good defensive team. They've had, a few blow up outings that have really kind of skewed the numbers, but they're just not hitting. They're not hitting for power. They're getting on base okay. They're all about, swing decisions and only swing early in the count and what you can do damage on. And they're doing the first part of the job. They're getting on base, but they're not getting the kill shots when men are on base. They're way down at the bottom in numbers with men on base, runners in scoring position, slugging, OPI, all that kind of stuff with men on base. So that's what has to improve for this to be a playoff team.
What kind of reasoning can you put towards the offense not being the same? Besides, yes, like Vladdy not being 2021 Vladdy, of course. Right. But, Teo's gone now for a couple years, and they lost Chapman, who, was more effective in the beginning of the season for them offensively. The other thing I remember hearing sometimes last year was, the ballpark changes. We thought it would help, but it actually hurt. So is it ballpark, personnel, a mix? What do you think?
So there's a lot to unpack there. I'll start with the ballpark. Rogers Center and probably Kratzy and AJ can attest to this. Historically, it always felt like and played like a hitter's park. Last year, they did phase one of the renovation. And I don't know if that changed offense in the park, but offensive numbers were way down. Like if you go on Baseball Savant and just look at ballpark factors just for last year, Rogers Center is way down there. Whereas in prior years, it was always top third, 7, 8, 10, somewhere around there. So I don't know why that would happen. It's not like it's a pure open air stadium with a low outfield deck or anything like that. I have no idea why it would change so drastically, but if you looked at the Blue Jay hitting numbers last year, home and road, they were noticeably different. So, as you said, Vladdy has not been able to recapture it. Bo Bichette, who always hits, is off to a slow start. And I don't think anybody's worried about Bo Bichette hitting because Bo Bichette hits. George Springer's numbers are not where he would like them to be, not where you expect them to be. And he took a step back offensively last year. And I think he's a little below this year where he was last year. So you start with those three guys. All of them are noticeably below their career averages. If they were all having just their average year, I'm not talking about Vladdy's great year, just their average year, this would be a much different offensive team. Alejandro Kirk, who was a Silver Slugger Award winner 2 years ago, didn't hit at all this year until yesterday when he had 3 hits, including a home run. So that's a really good sign. Danny Jansen was injured. He's now back. That's going to help the offense. So some guys are hitting. Justin Turner's hitting. Dalton Varsho's hitting. And they got some guys who are in part-time roles like David Schneider, Ernie Clement, they're hitting. But they need the big boys at the top, and they need Kirk to hit and do well. Why they aren't hitting as much, there are people, really smart people spending, I'm sure, 24 hours a day trying to figure that out. And internally, I think they, just try to keep the faith and say, hey, these guys have done it before, they'll do it again.
How worried, you mentioned they're not worried about Bo, but is there worry about Vlad? Because like you said, he had the one monster year, and everyone's like, oh, he's going to, and he even said it, like that was just the preview to the whatever, the main event or whatever he said, right? To the big movie or whatever.
The movie, yeah. 2022 was supposed to be the movie, yeah.
But we haven't seen it. This is the third year in a row where it's been down. So is this the Vlad? Not that he's a bad player, but is this the Vlad we should expect instead of like the MVP Vlad?
I think the truth, AJ, as is often the case, is somewhere in the middle. This Vlad is lower than last year's Vlad, which is lower than the year before, which is lower than 2021. So I think he's a very good hitter. I don't know if we'll ever see another year like 2021, but you guys might be able to look it up on the fly. I think his OPS is around 680, 690, 700, somewhere in there. He just doesn't look quite the same. And I'm no hitting expert, about getting your leg down on time and too much movement. I can see if a guy's chasing pitches and I can look up numbers and that sort of thing. But I've got to believe that he feels pressure because he knows he's supposed to be the guy. And when you're supposed to be the guy and the team overall is struggling, I think, he's human just like the rest of us. I got to imagine that's a pretty big weight on his shoulders right now. When he hits it, he still hits it as hard as anybody. Like it's Ohtani, Stanton, Judge, Vladdy. Like those are the core four, right? For hitting the tar out of the ball. He's just not doing it as often, and he's not getting the ball in the air as much. And this has been a big conversation point. Is he hits the ball on the ground a lot? So it feels like every couple of days there's 115-mile-an-hour ground ball to third or ground ball to short that somebody makes a great play on. If he gets him in the air, they're gappers, or if he really gets him in the air, they're homers. But so there's been a lot of talk about, should he try to pull the ball? Should he try to change his swing to get the ball in the air? Is he chasing too much? Is he chasing too little? Is he thinking too much and swinging at the bad ones and taking the good ones because he's worried about swinging at the bad ones? So it is by far the most talked about topic around this team. Every single thing that he does is amplified and under a magnifying glass. The talent is in there; you can see it. But AJ, your guess is as good as mine as to what kind of a year he's going to have and what kind of a career he's going to have. Really, I mean, even last year, which was considered a down year, I think his OPS plus was like 122 or something like that. Like 90% of big leaguers would kill for that. He's still a very good hitter. He's just judged by a different standard.
That's why AJ doesn't want to be a hitting coach, because he doesn't want to have to try to figure this kind of thing out, because these guys are good and they're not accomplishing it. But I want to go to the reason that the team is essentially a 500 team. The pitching staff. How does this pitching staff, led by Pete Walker for his 900th year as the pitching coach for the Blue Jays, how does this pitching staff, are they just a product of the Rogers Center being a not hitter friendly, pitcher friendly, or is this a really good pitching staff?
I think it's a really good pitching staff. So, I talked about, as you heard, as you said, that, the hitting numbers were way different on the road last year. They weren't way different for the pitching staff. They were better at home, but not, a ton better at home. I think this is a really good pitching staff. Let's start with Kevin Gausman. Obviously, Kevin Gausman is a great pitcher. Had a slow start this year, shoulder fatigue in the spring, looked great yesterday against the Dodgers, is really starting to look like himself. Jose Barrios, other than the 1 year, 2022, as consistent a guy as there's been in the big leagues, has literally never missed a start in an 8-year big league career, and he's just throwing great right now. Chris Bassett had a tough one on Friday against the Dodgers, but a pro's pro, through 200 innings last year, had a sub-4 ERA. And a real good, presence and influence on the staff. Yusei Kikuchi, if you want to give Pete Walker some love, he has put, I would guess, more work into Yusei Kikuchi than anybody else he's ever had in his Blue Jay tenure. Kikuchi's a different guy now. Everything about him, his mindset, his delivery, his arsenal, the usage, everything is different. And he's terrific, right? Like, he's not good. He's better than good right now. Now, Yariel Rodriguez right now is their number 5 starter. And then in the bullpen, you got a lot of quality arms as well. Unfortunately, Chad Green's on the IL, but you still have Jordan Romano, and you have Eric Swanson. You have Jimmy Garcia. Look at Jimmy Garcia's numbers, guys. And by the way, I know everybody calls him Yimmy. He has asked us to call him Jimmy. So we call him Jimmy Garcia up here. You can call him whatever you want. But look at his numbers. He's been as good as any reliever in baseball. Then you got Tim Mazur from the left side, Genesis Cabrera from the left side. They got a lot of good arms up here. And I think Pete's great, absolutely great. And you don't last as long and be a pitching coach under, I think, 4 different managers unless you're really, really good at your job. So he's great, and it's a really good staff that he's getting the most out of right now. And I think by the end of the year, the numbers will look just like they did last year.
Hey, is it Jimmy in Canada or is it Jimmy in the United States? Just so
it's Jimmy because Jimmy said he wanted to be called Jimmy, so it's
okay.
Jimmy. And,
okay.
I only know
Yimmy.
one thing. If you don't know how a guy if you don't know how a guy's name is pronounced, there's only one person to talk to, and that's the guy. And Jimmy said Jimmy.
Exactly. Hey, whatever the player says is what should be done, even if it doesn't say that in the pronunciation guide. If the player himself says this is what I want, then you do what the player wants.
Yep.
I have one more on the pitching. Or actually, you go, Kratz. Go ahead. I know you have one on pitching too.
Yeah. Where's Alek Manoah?
Alek Manoah physically is pitching for Buffalo. He is on rehab right now. He had a shoulder thing in the spring, so he's in the midst of his 30-day rehab. I think he's made 3, maybe 4 starts in the minors. The next to last one was a big step forward. The most recent one was another step back. We have seen him in Toronto because their AAA team is in Buffalo. They're so close. He makes the starts in Buffalo, and then he comes up to Toronto and is with Pete Walker and throws his side in front of Pete Walker and spends time with the big club in Toronto. I think he's got 2 more starts until the 30-day clock is up, and at that point, either they have to call him up or they option him to Buffalo, and he still does have an option remaining. Given that the last one didn't go well, I think the next 2 would have to go really well for them to call him up. I think, as you guys know, you want to see like sustained success before you bring a guy back. And they do have Yariel Rodriguez. I don't know how much you guys have seen him or talked about him. His stuff's really good. He's going to be he is a good pitcher, and he's going to be a very good pitcher. He's on a bit of an innings limit, though, right now. You guys have probably talked about him. Pitched in the WBC, then didn't pitch the rest of the year after he defected. So they're not going to let him throw 180 innings this year. In a perfect world, they'd love to have Manoah, and then you make Rodriguez like a multi-inning weapon out of the bullpen. But I think Manoah's got to prove to them that he can come up and have success. Otherwise, they leave Rodriguez in the rotation and try to figure it out. And it's really, I mean, again, I don't know what's gone on behind the scenes and what's led to all the issues, but 2 years ago, this guy was a Cy Young finalist. And, he doesn't have to be that, but even if he can just be a good number 5 starter, because really they're set. Like, they've got a lot of good arms in the bullpen. Even if he could be a good number 5 starter, then you put Rodriguez in the pen and let him come in and, try to wipe people out for 2-3 innings every time he's in there. That helps the staff.
You kind of alluded to it. You said physically. Physically, I can look to see where his rehab assignment is.
Yeah.
Where is he? Like, if he's in Toronto, do you guys ever get access to talk to him, or does he leave before you guys? Like, so where is he? Is he confident? Is he saying, I'm searching? Is he saying, what are the words that are coming out of his mouth?
It's a good question. We have had access to him. I've talked to him a couple of times, so he's not there all the time. And when the team is on the road, obviously, then he's with Buffalo all the time. He hasn't come to on road trips. I've talked to him a couple of times. Alek Manoah at his best, as you guys saw in his first couple of years, tremendously confident guy. I mean, a huge presence on the mound in personality alone, never mind the fact that he's also a big presence physically. I think he's probably searching for it. I talked to him, it's probably 10 days, maybe 2 weeks ago now, and it was after the first one. And all he'd been doing is like, lives and bullpens and stuff like that. And he had some walk issues in the first inning of the first one, 3 starts ago. And he admitted to me, he said it was going kind of fast for me. When you're doing a live, you're doing a bullpen, all you're thinking about is mechanics and your landing spot and your follow through and your this. And then you get into a game and you walk the first guy, and now you got a slide step because they're telling you this guy steals bases, and everything got going pretty fast on him. So, he still gives off, he's got a big smile and a big heart. And I think he believes in himself, but I wouldn't say he's got the same confidence that he had a couple of years ago. It's hard to imagine that any of us would if we had been through what he's been through the last couple of years. All I can do is I go on MLB research like you guys do, and I look at the pitches he's thrown, and generally the velocity has been about what it was when he was really successful. He was never a 97-mile-an-hour guy. He was having all kinds of success at 93 to 95, but he was just blowing people up with his two-seamer and locating his slider unbelievably well. He's just not landing his pitches. He's just not locating his pitches like he normally does. So, Kratzy, I wish I had more, but I'm hesitant. I don't want to climb into another guy's head. I certainly wouldn't want anybody else climbing into mine. So I'm not going to go too far and make assumptions. But I would think he's, optimistic, but I don't know I don't think he has the same confidence that he had a couple of years ago. And listen, if 10 days from now he's made 2 more starts and they don't call him up, they option him. Again, that's a lot of reality for Alek Manoah. And at that point, he's just going to have to try to work himself back up to the majors.
Oof. Speaking of, before we let you go, I have 2 quick questions / comments. One, have you done the tower walk yet? Because I know your partner has done it for charity. So have you done the tower walk yet?
No, I'm a wimp.
So how's this? I am too, but let's do this. How about this? If I ever do a game in Toronto again, we do it together and we do it for charity. How's that?
Okay, can we have a couple of pops first or something? You
can do whatever you want. You can do whatever you want.
For anybody who doesn't know what AJ is talking about, the CN Tower is right beside the ballpark. And if you want to do Canadians one favor, The CN Tower, like the CN Tower, is huge. It's not the Seattle Space Needle. It's 3 times as big as that. Like, and you guys, Kratzy and AJ and Scott, if you've been here, you look up at that CN Tower from the ballpark. That baby's way up in the air. So what people do for charity or because they're out of their minds is they kind of rappel on the outside of the observation deck of the tower. And if I'm calling a game and they're up there, I can see them. They're little tiny specks in orange suits, but I can see them. But I have never had any interest to do it. You're right. Buck Martinez and Pat Tabler did it in the day for charity. I wasn't part of the crew then, so I managed to dodge it. But if you ever get up here, AJ, I tentatively am giving you my word that I will do it with you.
Yeah.
Wow.
Yes,
Wow.
because I used to
Tentatively.
catch. So I used to catch, and I'd be looking up, and those people are up there, and I'm like, man, if this thing fell, like, which way do I go? I go this way. I go this way. Like, it's coming down. Like, because I mean, you could see them up there. They're like, and they're like hanging out like this. So,
Yeah.
and you're like,
Hey,
these people are
I'll tell
freaking
you what,
crazy, man.
A few years ago, we had a really cold April, and ice fell off the CN Tower. So now picture looking up there, and it landed on the roof of the Rogers Center, and a game was postponed on the first homestand of the year. It might have been, I don't know what year it was, 19 or 21 or something. It wasn't 21, 19 maybe. Like, imagine a big sheet of ice falling that far down, and it's amazing it didn't crash right through the roof and land at second base. But yeah, it's and you guys, I mean, Kratzy, you played here, and AJ, you've been here a lot, so it's a cool downtown. It's a cool scene. It's a great walk in town, great restaurant town, lots to look at, lots to do, and I would be happy to host you guys and entertain you guys if you ever come up this way.
Awesome. And then last thing before I let you go, since you're so big into ice, are you a Packers fan?
Whatever gave you that idea? Which way am I going here?
Yeah,
there it is,
there
right
it is.
there.
Yeah. I'm just
Yes.
saying, bear down, and Caleb Williams and Rome, they're coming for you. So bear down.
Oh, you know, the funny thing about the Bears is they never beat the Packers. That's
It's a new attitude. Here, Dan. New
I know.
attitude down here. Okay.
We're pretty good. You know, we're loving Jordan Love now. We got all these great young receivers. We think we had a good draft. Should have gone further than they did in the playoffs last year, actually. So, you know, killed the Cowboys. Should have beaten them.
That's the Packer way.
That is the Packer way. Should have gone further. That could be one of their logos. But I'm no fair weather fan. I go back to Lynn Dickey in the '80s and all kinds of dark, long years. So, but I don't know if you've ever been to Lambeau. I've never. You know what? We could have a bet of some sort too. We could. We got a few things going on here. But Lambeau's cool. Packers are cool, and I'm very happy to be a Packer fan.
Oh, you should be an Argos fan, eh?
Don't go for the A joke. You're better than that. You're better than that.
No, we're not.
See,
No, we're
Kratzy,
not.
You wouldn't do that. Kratzy
That
wouldn't
was
do
low. That was low. I'm an Eagles fan. I would never do anything like that.
Kratz, fans in the comments, by the way, said that you pronounced Toronto perfectly. So however you said it was perfect. I don't know what the
Say it again.
official.
Say it again.
Go ahead, Kratz.
I can't do it again. Toronto.
It was one.
Toronto.
Toronto.
The last T
Toronto.
does not get. It's not Toronto. It's Toronto. That's
I just call it the six. I'm from the six.
From the six. It is the six.
There you go, Dan Shulman from the six. Great to have you on for the first time here, Dan. Appreciate you. And AJ's bringing up Pops if you guys end up climbing that
we're
wild
going to be
thing.
on the jumpsuits. We're going to.
Good luck.
Hey, everybody. Be sure to like and subscribe for more content.
We're back here every weekday, all year long, so do not miss an episode.
The videos are coming in all day. Here's another video you might enjoy.
Baseball the way it should be covered.